As described in the PowerPoint, this is the text that I will be using for my KWWL Plus lesson. We are using the first selection, which is the First Americans, and that vocabulary up there has been pre-taught, so that will not be a part of this lesson, but they have already received that instruction. Now for this, I put what I already know. I know there's many different tribes in the US. And then before I filled out the rest, I took a little picture walk through the text. So we looked at, you can see there are different tribes represented, etc. So I filled out what I would like to know. What did they eat? Why are there different languages, etc.? Some of the places we could look for this information are the textbook, as well as the provided websites and the map. And then after reading this, I learned that they didn't all eat the same thing. They ate very local, depending on where they lived. Their houses were also dependent on that. So from here, we would categorize any of the information that we had put in this. This would go under what they ate, and then say we talked about houses being teepees or long houses. That would go under a category of where they lived. And we would go through and we would summarize all of that information in a class summary. From there, the students would receive another copy of that KWWL, and in pairs they would get a fact sheet very similar to this, each of their own tribe. Now all of the information that they need is A, already categorized, and B, already here for them. But if they wanted to use the provided map, or other online resources, they could. And from here, they would use a graphic organizer similar to this one. And they would fill out the name of their tribe, as well as list the foods they ate, their houses, how they use their natural resources, which was one of the focuses in the textbook, and then where they lived, what their climate was like, and then just another interesting fact. If you wanted, you could get a little more technical and use one similar to this and talk about their clothing and ceremonies and have them use their map skills and color that in their location. And then 3 natural resources and how where they lived affected them. But I feel like that's more of an extension, that's a little more advanced. So just looking at summarizing, I would stick with a more basic organizer for the important information. And then I would have students use this to orally summarize and present to the class, just so they're getting that feel of, here's everything I learned in a short summary. I'm not having to reread the entire text out loud. So as one more activity, moving from working with a partner and summarizing to working by themselves, I would again give the students the KWWL organizer to work through by themselves, and then I would also give them a more basic web, so removing the predetermined categories from what they've been given. So instead of this one here where we've got foods, houses, etc., they would be able to create their own categories based on what they learned about their given topic. For me, I like to stick with a theme and really explore it to its full extent. So sticking with the Native American theme, we would go with either famous leaders or like in this instance we have Chief Joseph, who's a pretty prolific leader. So for this student, and I would probably give him to one of the more advanced students because there's a lot of information to process about him. Their own web would have Chief Joseph in the middle, and maybe have things that he did or said, or specific things about him, what tribe he was from, etc. Whereas someone else, maybe who's still getting used to this, would have a topic like buffalo or hominy or buckskin. All of these things are still related to the topic, but have a much more focused information, so they're able to place it into a summary much more easily. And yeah, I would just keep doing this and do it with different topics until the students were really comfortable with KWWL and KWL Plus and able to write their own summaries.